everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, and I'm here today to film reviews of the 2 books that we read in the month of July for the Book Naturalist Book Club. Now, those of you that have been following along all year know that I have been co-hosting the Book Naturalist Book Club with Doris from All the Books, and each month we choose 1 or 2 titles of nature writing of some form. And the aim of the book club is just to read more diverse voices and to read different things that you might not encounter, like in the normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill book talk around here on BookTube. So for this month, we had 2 selections. We had this poetry collection, Tethered to the Stars by Fady Joudah. And Fady Joudah is a Palestinian-American poet and physician. So these poems fit right into the nature writing area that we're trying to promote here. And then the second book is a nature memoir, and that is Canoeing with Jose by Jon Lurie. So first, I will discuss the poetry collection. And so this book, it's a very lovely cover, produced by Milkweed Editions again. Very slim little volume of poetry. And I will say right off the bat that most of this collection went straight over my head. I think Joudah is a very intelligent, obviously, guy, and he is probably just far too intelligent for me to pick up on all the nuances. But there were several of the poems in here that I thought had very lovely nature type language. So I wanted to share a couple of those selections with you, just so you could sort of get the style of these poetries and judge for yourself if this is the type of poetry that would be for you. So this is a section from a poem called Listening Suture. And it's not the whole poem, but just a selection of it. It says, "A silver dolphin, then 2 glisten black, arch their spines as pelicans play eureka with leaping argent fish. I'm with my family, encore, liquid or flesh, displacement is a body." I thought that was lovely. As a person who is, lives on the coast and sees porpoises swimming, I just thought that was lovely imagery. Now, I would like to read to you the entire poem, Aquarius. So let us begin. Aquarius. For 8 years, her parents tried and couldn't conceive. A Bedouin woman passing through spoke her prescription. Sacrifice a white chicken together on a moonless night, around no artificial light, then go to bed. An overwhelming majority of the chickens were brown. The entire quarter searched and found, and 9 months later, the girl came out fair, like her father, said the women. No, the daughter says, my complexion I got from the chicken. I love that one. That one's really good. And then I will also like to share with you one last poem. This one's called Gemini. After yoga, I took my car to the shop. Coils, spark plugs, computer chips, and a 2-mile walk home are fossilized public transportation, elementary school recess hour, kids whirling joy, the all-familiar neighborhood. And then another newly demolished house. How long since I've been out walking? A message appeared on my phone, an American literary magazine calling for a special issue on Jerusalem. Deadline approaching, art and the ashes of light. At the construction site, the live oaks that appeared my age when I became a father was now being dismembered. The machinery and its men, almost always men, poor or cheap labor, colored with American dreams. The permit to snuff the tree was legally obtained. The new house is likely destined for a nice couple with children. Their children won't know there was a tree. I paused to watch the live oak brutalized limb by limb until its trunk stood hanged and the wind couldn't bear the place. Who loves the smell of fresh sap in the morning? The waft of SOS the tree's been sending to other trees. How many feathers will relocate since nearby can absorb the birds? Farewell for days on end. They were digging a hole around the tree's base to uproot it and chop it, then repurpose its life. So yeah, that is Tethered to the Stars by Fady Joudah. If those few selections sounded interesting to you, I would encourage you to pick this one up. Then the second book that we read for the month of July was Canoeing with Jose. And this is an adventure memoir. And it's a little bit older of a book. I believe that this journey Jon Lurie took like in the late 80s or in the 90s. So it's a little bit, some of the stuff may seem a little bit sort of older. It seemed a little bit older to me, but it's definitely in the 90s now that I think about it, because the two main folks in the memoir have cell phones available to them. So obviously that was not something that was available in the 80s. And this book was published in, let me see, 2017. So basically this story outlines Jon Lurie's trip up the some of the boundary waters in Canada from up the Red River through Lake Winnipeg, and then along the Haines River into Hudson Bay. So this is sort of northwest part of Canada, and Jon Lurie is American, and as well as his traveling partner is Jose, the titular Jose, who is part Native American, part Puerto Rican. And I forget which tribe Jose is from, but Jose has had a hard time fitting in. He's had a rough life. He's had a rough childhood. Has a rough time. He doesn't really fit into either group, the Native American group or the Hispanic group. And so he struggles to find his way. And his family has been, he's had a really difficult time. His family was not secure as he was growing up. He's been on his own for quite a long time. And the two, Jon and Jose, first meet when Jose is 16 years old. And they take this trip when Jose is like 19 or 20. And I will say I really enjoyed the descriptions of the river and the wildlife that they encounter along the river. There's some very beautiful passages that describe the landscapes and the waterscapes and the wildlife that were just stunning. But Jose himself is an irritating character. I mean, he's not a character, he's a real person. But he could be quite irritating in that way that teenagers can be irritating, especially teenagers that are trying to get your goat. And he spends much of this trip, which is a long trip, it's like weeks and weeks that they're on this journey together. And he spends much of it being obstreperous and just simply refusing to participate and making poor decisions that lead them into bad situations that I found highly frustrating, especially as a parent of children who are the same age that Jose is in this book. So your mileage may vary on that. Just personally, I found that to be a little bit irritating at times. But also, I would say that I enjoyed the way that Jon Lurie wove in sort of why Jose might be acting this way. The generational trauma that he is experiencing as a Native American, and the trauma that he experienced as a child with his family sort of basically splintering and him being left alone to raise himself in a very bad situation, an urban environment, lots of, drugs and gang violence and everything around him, and him trying to navigate that as a young child. So, I mean, I think Jon Lurie does a good job of sort of setting the framework of why Jose might be acting the way he is. But also, Jon Lurie, I felt, was a little bit, maybe made some decisions that I questioned as well, which is a sort of part of the deal, right? When anytime anybody sort of sets off on one of these extremely dangerous, harrowing, difficult journeys through the wilderness, it's so crazy how unprepared they are much of the time for this type of activity. Brings to mind Wild by Cheryl Strayed, or other memoirs of that type, where people undertake these sort of adventures because they're trying to gain some kind of interior knowledge through the process. So that was interesting as well. I also really enjoyed the parallels that I could draw between the actual river system that they're traversing and the reading that I've been doing recently about the Métis Nation and other Indigenous groups in Northwest Canada. So this Red River watershed that they're traveling through, especially in the beginning parts of the book, is the Matey Homeland. And so a lot of the reading that I've been doing in recent months about the Matey described a lot of these same places that Jon Lurie is passing through as he's doing this canoe trip. So that was fabulous to be able to sort of get a different perspective of this landscape and this watershed through this memoir. So I really appreciated that as well. So this one was a little bit different than some of the nature memoirs that we've read in the beginning part of the year, in that this is much more of an adventure tale. There is a lot of, as I said, exciting moments throughout where they are in real danger, very much in real danger. And it's sort of amazing to me that they didn't, that they came out as well as they did at the end. So yeah, I don't want to give anything away if you're interested in reading this book. Again, this is also published by Milkweed Editions. Lovely little paperback, very high quality paper and all of that, as you've come to expect from a Milkweed book. So yeah, that's Canoeing with Jose by Jon Lurie. Another interesting book that we've read for the book club, one that I never would have come across on my own, I don't think, which is part of what I'm really loving about the books that we've chosen for the Book Naturalist Book Club, is how diverse they are, how many different areas of nature we have explored so far. And so very much appreciated the insight that I gained into this area of Canada through this book. So I will leave my review here, and I will add some clips at the end of this video if you'd care to keep watching, of some nature that I've been experiencing around my neck of the woods. I hope you're all doing well and finding some great books to read, and I will talk to you later.
Hang on. Hang on, Bryce. You ready? You better hang on. Good. There we go. Here we go.
That's a baby. That's a baby.
That's a baby?